Hi, I'm Tendra Johnson.
And I'm Joanne Niehl.
Stay tuned as we uncover Joanne's story and dive into her power of food. So Joanne, you are Pittsburgh through and through.
Very true.
Definitely through and through. All the way back to your great grandparents who settled on both sides, who settled locally or within Pittsburgh. Why Pittsburgh? Do you have any idea what made them choose Pittsburgh?
I think they came for work. Both sides of the family ended up working in steel mills, and Pittsburgh had one of the best areas to come. And I think both came because there was family here that they could come, and there was a support system already set up. So Pittsburgh was the place that they came.
Got it. And your great grandfather, it's an interesting story. When he was looking to settle, buy a home for his family, really put down roots, he encountered some animosity, some hatred when he wanted to buy his home. What happened with that?
He did. They had come and they had actually settled in Trafford, which is actually not far from here.
Okay.
But they had rented a farm, and he really wanted to be a farmer, but my great-grandmother really grew tired of the farm life.
Mm.
And so it was decided that they would move to Braddock, and they would look for a home and stay there. And they did, and they found a very nice house that was a large house in the front and a smaller house in the back. And they decided that was the house that they were going to buy. But the neighbors, hearing that the Italian family, Catholic Italian, they drew up a petition because they felt they would certainly be.
Oh, they drew a petition.
A petition.
Okay.
Yeah, all the neighbors signed it. They drew a petition up saying that the family would just be not suitable for the area. There would be too many children. There would be a lifestyle that just would not be conducive to the neighborhood that they had.
To what they thought was better.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to get by that. And that house was very special to all of us and very cared for. And we just, about 5 or 10 years ago, they finally had to sell the house because everyone had moved on and passed away and so forth.
Right. And who kind of helped negotiate that? Like, who helped your great granddad try to get that house?
Well, it was. Do you want me to say that?
It's completely up to you.
They
if you're
went.
Okay with it?
Yeah, if you're okay with it, they went to the local people that they knew were part of the mafia, and they went to them and said, we really would like this house, and there's this petition against us, and somehow they made things happen. Yeah. And but I understand. I think that came there was two things that happened after that. My great grandmother agreed to bake bread for them.
Mm-hmm.
There was some that she had. I know she had them for meals.
Right.
There was a certain group of men that would come, and she would cook for them, and then she would make this bread.
Right.
And my great uncle at one point went to put the bread in the car one day, and they had this really old car because it was in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Opened up the trunk, and there were all these guns.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I won't put the bread in the car anymore. He was only like 9 years old or so, and it was just. And then after that, my great aunt, my grandmother's sister had gotten married, and Uncle Tony, who was a plasterer, they came to him and said, "Why don't you join us? We have some work for you. You could." And he said, "No, that wasn't his."
Right.
So he didn't. So
right.
Yeah, that was a story that actually just sort of came out. We weren't really aware of things, as things go on. We have one of our cousins is really into genealogy and has been writing things. Thank goodness, because sometimes families don't write things down, don't ask questions.
And you lose the history.
And you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we were lucky to find it. And it was 100 years ago. So
right. But just the thought of, like, people always assume that racism, bigotry, all of these things are against people that look so much different than you, like when you can
Right.
really pick them out. But this is an instance that wasn't the case.
Right.
Like
Right.
you have a group of people that just believe that because you're Italian Catholics and
Right.
they were Protestant, that
Right.
they had a right
Right.
to not have your family in their neighborhood.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was very sad. It was very sad.
And with your family, you have a colorful family.
You might say.
Yeah. Like I think on your dad's side, I believe your great grandfather became the chief of police in the local borough.
He was, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
And trained horses.
He did train horses,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of the information from that side, we have some, but we don't have a lot.
Right.
And he did. And then my great grandfather worked in the mill, and then my grandfather worked as a typesetter for the Old Sun Tally, which was one of the original Pittsburgh papers, and then left there and worked in a bank, and then ended up working for Westinghouse,
Mm-hmm.
which, everybody sort of went back to the mill.
Right.
Even when I graduated high school, people were trying to get jobs in the mill. That was
stability of the income.
There was stability, there
Mhm.
was health coverage, there was everything that you wanted,
Right.
and a good earning. So,
And then your great grandmother, she, as you said, she was baking bread because of the issue with the house.
right.
And then your grandmother, she worked in the local pickle factory.
She did work in the pickle factory.
And you talked about her smelling like pickles when y'all would pick her up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I had to sit in the back of the car with her. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I never really gave her enough credit. We all sort of made fun because my grandmother, I don't know if you ever watched the show Dinosaurs. It was back on in the 90s.
Mm.
And there was their grandmother was in a wheelchair, and she sort of had this raspy voice. And well, my grandmother had this raspy voice and a cigarette hanging, but that being said, she married at 17, had my mother immediately. And before she was 20, my grandfather had died of pneumonia. And there she was. She had a 2-year-old. She was 20 years old. And so she went and worked as a maid, and lived in the back house. They had a small back house. And then eventually she got work in the pickle factory, her and her friend Jenny Jack. And they'd pack pickles all day. And we'd pick her up sometimes. And it was just, she went through a lot. And then my great uncles were all working in the mill, and it became a possibility for her to be a bookie. And we all knew it was, you didn't really talk about it, but it gave her the extra income. She really would not have survived without it. And we all learned. We mostly went down the house, but when, wherever she was at 4:00, she taught me how to listen to the radio and get the old stock and the new stock. And I think the last time I played a number was when I was a freshman in college, and I played my dorm number, and it hit because I always booked it on. I would play it a certain way on the old stock, and then we thought she was getting too old. She was on Social Security, and it was time to maybe stop that.
Right.
Before she ended up in jail.
And you became her assistant.
Only certain times, yeah. I did.
Helping her out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, she was a hoot, yeah. She had her little pocket ashtray, wherever you went, she'd carry her own ashtray, and she'd pop it open, and then she'd always, when we'd leave, she'd always fold a little $1 bill and, tuck it in your hand, and that was it. She was fun.
And even to this day, pickles is still a thing here in Pittsburgh.
Pickles we have, Pittsburgh celebrates food. Overall, Pittsburgh, everything that they do is food. And so they've started in the past 5 years a pickle festival. Picklesburg.
I haven't made it yet, but I've heard Picklesburg.
Yeah, everything is pickles. Everything is, and then they have a pickle juice drinking contest. And they have everything made with pickles. Everything sort of vinegar based. Mm-hmm. It was, so it's an event. Pittsburgh does all kinds of things. Yeah. It's a very warm city. It's a very come and be happy, come join the crowd, have fun.
Yeah, you definitely have a fondness for Pittsburgh. That has come out over and over. Yes.
I do.
Yeah. So when you went to college, you finished college, you were thinking about heading to law school.
Right.
What made you switch that trajectory? Because you did an undergrad at poli-sci.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I went to Pitt, and I did poli-sci, and really had decided I was going to be a lawyer. Took the law boards, the whole thing, and then I think some of the upper level poli-sci courses, they try and take you on the steps of what it's going to be when you're an attorney and you start going over cases and things like that. And part of it was the mindset. There's a mindset that you need to be able to embrace, and I really didn't think I could embrace it. I don't know that I could have represented someone that I had any doubt whether they were telling me the truth or not. And I think that was what the breaking point was. And so I just stopped. And at the same time, I was on the University of Pittsburgh Senate, and met several legislators. And the one legislator said, I could really use someone to manage my home office as well as go back and forth to Harrisburg. And
that's how you ended up at the House of Representatives.
And it was wonderful because I got to be with people all the time. I got to help people no matter what they were, whether they were Democrat or Republican. If they walked into the office, they had every right to be there and every right to be helped, which was wonderful. And just got to do traveling in the state, met, governors, met important people, John Glenn, met Prince Charles. It was like such an opportunity. It was really cool. It was a great job for a single person. Right. It would have been difficult with a family, but it was wonderful to just.
And how long were you there at the House of Representatives?
I started, I went for about 13 years.
Okay.
Because I did part-time once I started having kids. I'd work on the weekends and things. So it was good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And eventually that's when you after you had the kids. So how old were the kids at that point? Because you decided to step away after a while.
Yeah, I had really quit full-time in September before Jake was born, and because of my mother-in-law. But then the last time I went in, I think I took Julie in a bassinet sort of thing, and she would be in there with me. But then I was done. It was time to be done.
Yeah.
So
you walked away from that career and then decided to focus on family, focus on the kids.
That was
your husband, his mom, was dealing with Alzheimer's at the time, so to help with her as well. And over time, eventually, you also became the caretaker of your mom as she began to age, right?
Yeah. My dad had passed away in 2010, and then my mom was by herself, and my brother had some issues. And so we had to be there for her,
right.
And then I would work, once the kids got into elementary school, I started working at the school as a special needs aide, as a substitute, because there are always people that have to go out or something that, they need someone to come in. And then took care of my mom, and she eventually ended up in a nursing home very close by, and it was a lovely home. And she did real well. And then she just got tired.
Yeah.
She just, so that was.
Because she passed 92.
She was 92.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one thing when you like to take care of, getting the kids to school, homework, projects, extracurricular activities, all of that. But it takes another piece of us, to help out, like with the aging parent or like with your mother-in-law when she was going through Alzheimer's. That's something, a different type of coping.
It is, but I felt bad that I couldn't bring her here because of the steps.
Yeah. And for her to navigate around.
It couldn't. Yeah, it just didn't work, and her needs were more than I could do here, and I did feel bad that I couldn't do that. Yeah. But I did go often. Went 2 or 3, 4 times a week to the nursing home and cooked whatever she wanted to eat that week that she was feeling like she wanted to eat, and so it was all right. It was good.
Yeah. And cooking, now that's an interesting segue, because you enjoyed asking her what she wanted to eat, like what she wanted you to fix her, bringing her that particular meal, that particular snack. And even later on, and I believe more recently when your niece passed away, when she was battling cancer, you did the same thing with her. And you mentioned what an honor it was to do that for them and to be able to do that for them.
Yeah, that was you get the call,
Yeah.
and we all knew that she wasn't doing well, and she said she's asking if you would cook.
Yeah.
If you would cook for her. So in her state, things had to be made a certain way. Like you had to cut things tiny, 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 and she wanted certain, and I did, and I felt like it was everything that you could ever do for somebody.
Right.
You couldn't ask for anything more.
Right.
I mean, my mom liked to eat. Like, I think one of her last birthdays, and I'm not kidding, in her house, she used to order the Chinese food so much that they would, they know, oh, okay, Mr. Lutton, Mrs. Lutton, what would you like? And
They knew her order.
yeah, I'd like a duck. I'm like, Mom, you ordered an entire duck. I ordered an entire duck. She ate the entire duck. But when Kathy got sick, it was a little bit different, and it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to see everybody go through that, and we miss her terribly.
And just to be able to, like we were talking earlier, food is something that, in and of itself, is something that is so simple, right?
Right.
It's just here to nourish.
It's just nourishment.
That's it.
That's all it is.
But you have special people. You have that desire to feed, to quench, to build that relationship, to grow that relationship for these special events or just a regular dinner. And it changes it. It makes it something that is bigger than I think we even realize.
Right.
So to be able to do that for someone, it's humbling.
Yes.
It's humbling, and it's a beautiful thing, to be able to do that.
Yeah, it really makes the difference. I think everything is elevated. Everything is elevated when you add that in, because
the humanistic aspect.
It is. Yeah. There's a feeling there. There's a comfort. Whatever. Even if sometimes we do theme parties, and it's that little bit of excitement that you go, oh, yeah, that's going to be fun. Mm-hmm. Let's and to try and think of things and make it more than it doesn't need to be, but more than you want it to be.
Right.
So yeah, it is. Yeah. And when we ran the concession stand for the band for 7 years, and oh gosh, we had a hoot, especially with food. And we'd have evenings of stuff, especially when we got to the playoff times in football, and it would be snowing in November, and we would buy a case of Klondikes ice cream. Uh-huh. And we had 2 guys in there that it was their thing every year to try and sell those Klondikes in the snow. And they did. Right. They did, because people are like, oh, Klondikes. I know it's cold, but I can eat that Klondike.
Right.
It's, so it's just like, some people paint, and some people put things, sew, and some people, and, my communication is food.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that after you dealt with a lot. You dealt with a lot of loss in your family. Your father early on, your brother, your mom,
right,
and your niece. But after your mom passed, and you were sitting on the back porch, going through these recipes, and those recipes began a project, a couple projects. Tell me about those.
Yeah, it was an odd feeling when you realized that there's no one else left. Yeah. I mean, of course, I had my family, but you think about your parents and my brother. I didn't expect my brother to die,
right.
And I started to go through the recipes, and as minuscule as it sounds, I mean, I was just going to type them up on the computer so the kids would have them, because my mother was really a cook, and she had literally notebooks and notebooks of her recipes and family recipes, and really without any kind of, it just grew. And it was very difficult at times, because I would look at a recipe and remember eating it, remember being down at the house, the family house, and
probably watching her make it.
And a lot of that was, there's images. And my mother taught me to cook in Italian, which I never even realized until a couple of years ago that, we were given direction in Italian. We were given, if we were in trouble, we were yelled at in Italian, right. Not by my dad, but my mother. And my dad never yelled at anybody anyway. But, that would be it. And if we were given direction of, especially in the kitchen, or, sit down, stand up, be quiet, whatever. It was in Italian. And those recipes, literally page by page, just started something. I never, ever thought about writing a book. Never thought about writing a book. Never thought about any kind of selling a book. And then as I went through, I felt like that love of Pittsburgh and sort of came about and thought, well, maybe I could, I didn't have anything at that point. There were no grandchildren. There was no job. I was just, and I thought, well, okay, maybe we can put this into something that is something. And it really never had even an outline, never, just went through and I thought, okay, that recipe could go there. This could go there. This could go there. And it was really, really well received. It was just a fun thing.
And that ended up being that was the first one
that was
we're talking about.
Yeah, that was Pittsburgh on Your Plate, and it came out in 2020, and it continues to sell to this day. It's sold all over the United States. It's sold in Europe, and I guess wherever there's Pittsburgh people, it's just. And then once I had such a fun time doing it, and then I decided to do Pittsburgh in Your Pot, and again, just exactly the same thing.
Right.
The books are. I want them to be exactly the same, and it's just more recipes, more fun, more stories.
Yes.
More stories of people that are here, of Pittsburgh, of things that we do, Pittsburgh does things, they do things with food all the time, especially holidays. And
that's how I learned about the cookie table.
Right.
The infamous Pittsburgh cookie tables.
The cookie table is famous.
Yeah.
They do it in Pittsburgh, and they also do it in, I think, parts of Ohio. But it all started out because there were times back, especially in the Depression, there wasn't enough money to have a cake.
Got it.
So in an effort to have some sort of dessert, all the relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins would bake cookies. They'd put them on a table, and everybody would have, some sort of dessert.
And they are big displays. Like
it is, yeah. They're very
these cookie
extravagant
spreads
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not kidding around. There's companies that just sell stuff for cookie tables. There's companies that help you do cookie tables. I've seen them with big backgrounds and lighting and the whole thing. It's wonderful. It's great. It's a whole. You have to watch though, because you go in different cities and not everybody understands what a cookie table is, and some people are not open to cooking tables, so you have to make sure.
How you can't be open to a cookie table?
Yeah, I know
it
doesn't.
me.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, well, yeah. So it is. We just
wow. So initially, when you were looking through your mom's recipes on the porch that day, and your main goal, like you said, was you were like just sorting and saving these recipes, probably to keep for yourself, pass on to your kids,
right.
But they became something bigger, and you said at that moment you thought you were just saving them, just for the family's use. How do you look at that now? When you look back at that day and what you've created with other people that have given you some of their family recipes in both of these books, how do you look back on that moment now?
Well, it was one of those moments that you realize that something that you think is not all that important in life, just nourishment, just could mean so much to people. And in doing the books and talking to people and so forth, it was just amazing how when you talk to someone about their family recipes, how their whole atmosphere changes. Their whole, there becomes an excitement. There becomes a life. And what was really neat was the second book. Instead of doing cookie tables, we did grandma's recipes, which was fascinating. And I couldn't wait for the recipes, but found that the stories of what people went through to get here and what they did were amazing. And we had so many families, more than I bet 3 or 4, that actually sat down with their siblings and said, okay, these are our special recipes. Do we want to share them? And so a lot of the times they did, but in several times they didn't. They're like, this is close to us. Yeah. We're not sure that we can do that. We're not sure that we can make what we do every Christmas or what we do every Easter or what we do, 4th of July. I don't know that we can make that public.
Right.
And
Respectfully.
I respected that
Yeah.
way beyond what I could imagine, because it was just, there was so much to that, that you have to understand the levity that people just rely on this. It's almost like a warm woolen sweater that you put on in the winter when you want to be comforted, and that's what that recipe is.
Mm-hmm.
They make it a certain way. They want it to taste a certain way. And not everybody's tastes the same, by the way. But it's what they're used to. It's their thing. It's their possession. And it was amazing. It was just truly amazing.
Yeah.
And so you learn so much and you grow and you just take baby steps through life.
Pretty much. Because none of us know what we're doing, right?
No, not at all. But we know certain things will be there if we want them. And one of those is the recipes.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that we know. That's arcane. Okay. I might not know what I'm going to do, but if I eat this spaghetti, I'm going to feel like I did when I was 6 years old, sitting on that chair in the kitchen. And that makes me feel better.
It's kind of like our internal compass, that our North Star sometimes.
Right.
You just need that piece of that loved one.
Right.
Just to carry you through.
And you can't always remember. Sometimes I think these recipes also jarred memories, and sometimes you forget the memories. You can't remember everything.
Yeah.
And it allows you to just go back. Just, I remember eating it when, I remember my mother making it, or I remember my aunts or, my grandmother, whatever it is. It just allows you to take that step to 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago and say that, I'm still part of that. They're still with me.
Absolutely.
It's very special.
Absolutely.
And I hope people, I don't know about other people. I know Pittsburgh people. I don't know other cities. I would think cities like Cincinnati, like New York City, I would think people have that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know other people and we don't really travel. I don't know other people in other states and stuff, but I hope they do.
Yeah.
I hope they have traditions and food that bring them to that point where they're like, this is what is most important, how I feel, the person I am, and, what brought me here.
Right. And it's not even just looking back. A lot of times it's taking a step into the future, whether it's with your grandkids.
Right.
They're enjoying this. So it's not just going back in time. It's kind of like this line that's this line that just stays with us.
Right.
Throughout time, and our families, our friends, whomever we pass it on to.
Right.
Like even the sauce that we're going to eat soon here. This sauce is special to you.
It is what it is. I don't use I have a recipe, but I don't really, it is what it is, because you've made it hundreds of times.
And before you, your mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And my grandmother and my great grandmother. And it's just it's something.
Yeah.
It's just a tangible, intangible. It's just, something that's just there, and you just, takes you back.
Yeah, it does. Well, thank you so much, Joanne.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been quite a journey.
I can tell it has.
Just never thought.
Yeah.
Any of it would, if you would have told me after I turned 60 all this would happen, I would have told you were just crazy.
Yeah.
But it is. Here it is.
Those turns in life get you every time, huh?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Food can take us on a journey, and Joanne just took us on hers. She took us through a lot of loss, but at the same time, she showed us about Pittsburgh. She showed us what food means to Pittsburgh, and how from everything from Picklesburg, the famous pickle festival, to the cookie tables that they're known for. Joanne shared all of that with us. And amongst that, and amongst her diving into her mother and her grandmother's recipes, she shared even more and built a community through the recipes that they shared in the 2 books that she has written thus far. So the power of food it can cover a lot.
And Joanne showed us how through loss, that loss can even still be turned into something beautiful. So this was The Power of Food. Hope you enjoyed it. Take a look at Joanne's books. Pittsburgh in Your Pot and Pittsburgh on Your Plate.